are so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt Mackenzie and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy.
Even if it was for a short time.
Yeah, but anyway, welcome Daylight Burners. We got Mackenzie coming back for another, I don't know if we want to call this, I might as well call it a fence post politics. It's basically what we're gonna talk about. So, I mean, it's just, that's what the world has become. It's just politics. Like, people forgot about football and baseball. Baseball is still trying to make itself irrelevant completely. And people have turned to politics, and it's a good thing, but mostly it's a bad thing. Like, because people still don't know what the hell they're talking about. But now they're talking about shit that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, everything is political. And like you said, half the people don't know what they're talking about. And yeah, it just gets worse.
Yeah, it's wild. I keep wondering if we were talking about it on Tuesday, me and Bob. In 1917, they didn't have any memes or I guess it'd been 1914 when World War I kicked off. They didn't have any memes, but they had, they had newspapers and cartoons and shit, but it was all pretty regional. And then World War II, they had radio and stuff, so it was a little more widespread. But now, like, we can just trade memes with somebody in Russia, and we can both just talk about how stupid our governments are and how much we're supposed to hate each other and how much we're both just getting screwed by a bunch of old farts longing for the glory days of the Cold War.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, the way technology is now, and with a war going on, I mean, you could watch a war unfold basically in real time.
Yeah.
And the thing that blows my mind is the pictures and the videos that we've seen come out of Ukraine, and some people still think it's just all a hoax. On Twitter, some of the things I've seen are just outrageous.
Oh yeah. It's what's the craziest part is there's just so much propaganda from we're getting to watch the propaganda from three different sides. Basically, we have our media, we have the Ukrainian media, and we have the Russian media, and then we have, like, the overall, like, Facebook and Google monolith, like, looking over all of that. And it is just like an astounding amount of propaganda that we've been able to witness in real time.
Oh, for certain. You have to question everything you see, such as, that story came out when, I guess you could say, the war first broke, of those soldiers that were on that island. Mm-hmm. And supposedly they were killed, and then all of a sudden they're alive. And what even happened? It's everything. Yeah. You have to.
The ghost of Kiev, which turned out to be just a screen grab from a flight simulator.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's insane. And in the meantime, like, I think we can all, just about everybody, can agree that Vladimir Putin's an asshole, and you shouldn't invade Ukraine. But also, like, I've seen our own media live several wars in my lifetime, and I'm not quite so willing to be like, hey, let's go to war with Russia just yet, because we're not talking about, like, beating up on a bunch of Iraqis. Like, we're talking about a country of 150 million people and more nuclear weapons than we have.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a very close race, but they've probably got more than we do,
Oh,
and
for
at
sure.
that point, it won't matter. It doesn't matter once one is fired.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. Oh golly, if we go to war with Russia, it's over. Because essentially, if we go to war with Russia, I feel like we're going to war with China also. I mean,
Mm,
they're in bed together. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, if we go to war, it will be quick because it'll be a nuclear war. And I mean, it'll be lucky if it would last a week.
yeah, yeah, and we just like keep flirting with it, like this whole like Polish jet deal. Like we can just say no. We're not sending. Like if Poland wants to send their jets, Poland can take care of that. But we're not going to be the intermediary.
Yeah.
No, like no, we're. I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but like we both have nuclear weapons. We don't want to shoot them at each other. So let's stop trying to blur that line. Let's stop.
I'm
And I feel really bad for the Ukrainian people. I feel really bad for the Russian people.
mhm.
And and this whole thing, like I don't know if it could have been prevented, but we could have been in a way better situation if we hadn't shut down a bunch of pipelines, if we hadn't stopped trying to stifle our own oil production to please the climate nut jobs. If Germany hadn't shut down their nuclear plants because they wanted to make Greta, what's her name,
Greta
Thunberg.
Thunberg.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg. Greta
Yeah, something like
Thunberg.
that.
Yeah, if they would have tried to ease the autism there, and so they shut down a bunch of their nuclear plants, and now they're like, why don't we just invite Russia into NATO at this point? Because every single NATO country is already doing business with them. Like, what the fuck are we fighting?
Oh, for certain. And then, freaking Biden, we cut off our oil from him like the past couple days. Then we turn
Yeah,
around and we go to Venezuela for oil.
yeah, and Iran and
Yeah,
Iran,
and Iran.
who
Freaking
we're supposed to be at odds with. So, like, if we're gonna go to them for oil, why don't we just figure that shit out and take the whole war part out of it? Like,
it none of it makes sense. And you did make a comment. You said you don't know if this could have been prevented. I am very passionate about that statement because I think it could have been. I could think it could have been prevented. The administration we have in office is so damn weak, and we showed our weakness when we pulled out of Afghanistan, and we basically showed the world like, "Hey, we're a bunch of pussies. Do what you want."
yeah, and I don't think it was so much the pullout, but it was how, obviously. I
Yes.
mean, because it's been 20 years. Everybody was like, yeah, let's get out of there, but not like that. Like that was awful. And but I honestly I wrote a pretty lengthy blog piece about it because I honestly, after watching it unfold, since I was a sophomore in high school when 9/11 happened,
Yeah.
and just watching one administration after another just fuck it up completely, and then go into another country and then another country and continue to fuck it up. I was just like, it was always going to happen, and so like I wasn't that surprised by it, but it's still just infuriating. It just I'm very much an anti-war guy, but I'm a very pro-military, and well, I'm a very pro-soldier guy. I'm not a pro-military guy. I'm a pro like your average enlisted guy, uh, and it's just infuriating to see like there was 13 Marines that got killed after thousands that got killed because of that, and for what? For what? Like we went in there after one guy changed the mission and then decided like I don't know. And then 10 years after we killed the guy that we originally went in there after, we're just like, oh shit, that was bad. That really fucked that one up. Like, well, yeah, maybe think things a little bit better next time. And here we are. We're sending Kamala over there to laugh while they're figuring out what to do with a bunch of MiG fighter jets.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm like you, like, I'm definitely against war. I'm all about having a strong military. Sometimes I have to say I kind of ride the fence because I'm like, why does America have to police the world?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's going on with the Ukrainian people? Straight up terrible. What it is going to do to food shortages around the world, it is absolutely terrible. But at the same time, why is it on us to basically step in and stop Putin from just taking over? Why isn't like Germany or England or France or even Poland? Poland should be freaking out, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Why aren't those countries stepping up like we have?
Well, and that was, and I wasn't like I liked Trump for some things. I liked there was a lot of stuff I didn't like about him, but one thing that I really thought that he kind of nailed was the whole NATO thing. Like, we all agreed, we signed this treaty, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. We all signed on to it that said we're going to contribute this much of our GDP to defense. And this is all because the Soviet Union is this huge threat. Okay, we all agree on that. Ready, break. Let's go. Well, no, we carried the bill the whole time. Soviet Union broke up. And then, like, as part of the deal, even though it was never in writing, but it was in the minutes of the meeting from 1994, HW, or 92, 90, somewhere in there at the end of the Soviet Union, H.W. Bush said NATO will go not 1 inch further east. This is the NATO countries. Well, what did we do? No, we started just adding all these former Soviet countries to NATO. And next thing you know, Ukraine's all that's left, basically. and then that's not even to mention all the murky shit that the Bidens and all, who knows, however many elected officials have shady business deals in Ukraine. Not to mention all the huge corporations based out of America that have all these dealings in Ukraine, which the media hasn't mentioned in a little bit, but is consistently in the top 5 most corrupt countries on earth. For forever, basically. And it's just more reason for us not to be involved. Like, it's just another classic case of, we're going to give a bunch of weapons to somebody who's going to turn out to be really bad, and then 15 years from now, my son and his buddies are going to have to go over there and fight them, and they're going to get shot at with weapons that we sent over there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. That is probably how it's going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
So in your opinion, what does America do now? How do we get out of this situation?
Start pumping oil,
Yeah.
and start telling Europe to get their shit together, because we don't want any part of it. Like, I don't know what you do with Putin at this point. I think maybe we poked that bear about as far as he's willing to go, and now he might actually be crazy. I don't know. I used to think he was a pretty like a very calculated guy, but this full on, like, full-fledged invasion, I didn't see that coming.
No, a lot of people have labeled him as crazy and questioned his mental state. Even Condoleezza Rice, she said he always appeared to be very calculated, and what he has done over the past few weeks is very haywire, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to stop with Ukraine? Do you think he's going to continue to go westward?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know. This is, they're really, in the media, like, do not underestimate how much, like, your legacy media organizations and businesses and corporations, do not underestimate how much they profit from war. So they will pump this up, and, like, they've been comparing it as much as they can to Neville Chamberlain in World War II or pre-World War II, and it's not a invalid comparison, but I'd like to think that that Putin's not that crazy. I honestly, I think you look historically since about 16 or well, like call it 1700, Ukraine has loosely been part of Russia. So it's not that uncommon of a dispute. It's just this time, it's yeah, it happens to be when we have nukes. So
Yeah.
that's what makes it really like we can't just like we can't talk as tough as we used to. Like you used to, you could talk all the shit you wanted to because you knew they couldn't do anything about it from here. But now, like, yeah, it's just like it's just more reason we shouldn't be over there. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think he'll probably. I think he's gonna have a hell of a time getting through Ukraine.
Yeah.
And if he, uh, yeah, I hope, God, I hope he doesn't try to
Yeah.
do anything else. But I don't think he can. Like Russia's in a really pretty bad spot economically, and then with all these sanctions and shit, it's funny how Biden shuts off our purchasing oil from Russia, but Germany they're gonna still keep buying oil from Russia.
They are in a terrible spot. I
Yeah.
reported on it like in the past few days, the amount of energy, like 40% of their energy comes from Russia.
Mm,
Why would
yeah.
you ever put yourself in that position?
Right. And this whole thing could have went so much better if we could have just like Biden could have told all the instead of like, hey boys, instead of burning off all that natural gas, start pumping it. We are sending a fuckload of natural gas over to Europe, and your move, Putin. Like, because then they could have shut off the Nord Stream pipeline and threw the middle finger to Putin, and he would have had to back down pretty damn quick. But
Yeah.
now, like we don't have the capacity. It's gonna take them a while to ramp up, even if they wanted to. But they're not even trying to. Oh, it's retarded. It is
That
retarded.
that was going to be my next question. How do you feel about fuel prices here? Not how do you feel? I know how you feel. How do you see this going? I mean, do you think they're going to ramp up oil and drilling and all that stuff? How is this going to play out? I mean, I don't know what diesel is where you're at, but it's 5.30 here in central Nebraska.
I didn't see what diesel was, but I know my wife paid four. Well, she paid $5.19 at the casino for premium the other day. But it was like a $10 deal and to get her to town, and then
Mm.
but it was $4.19 for premium. So diesel's probably I don't know. It's ridiculous. We're close enough to California where we have closer to those fuel prices than
Oh yeah.
what you'd see in Nebraska, and it's gonna get bad. I think because you're starting to hear hyperinflation in the media. And if they're finally acknowledging it in the media, that means like we've been well on that path for a while.
Right.
But I do love that they can just blame all the inflation and shit on Russia now, even though it's like anybody who's paid any attention can see that it's been in the progress for a while. But
Oh, for certain. Inflation did not jump 8% in the past 2 weeks. That's what I feel like Biden feels like this is a blessing, what's going on over in between Russia and Ukraine, because now he has a finger to point all of his problems at. And he's going to point all the fuel prices. He's blaming this on the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which is just a bunch of bullshit. That man cannot take any responsibility for anything. And he's a terrible leader, but that's one of the first things that makes a bad leader. You cannot admit when you're wrong.
yeah, well, and he also, we've been saying it since before he was president, but like I gotta know where the fuck he's at. I mean, it's what my father-in-law said the other. It's elder abuse at this point that they're just making him do all this. But I, yeah, he's. Can we stop putting 70, 80-year-old dudes in office? It's.
Yes, that is the exact thing my dad said actually this week. He's like, can we just get like a 40, 50-year-old man in there that still has his mind?
Yeah, like, and we come from the agricultural world, and in particular the cattle side of things, where you respect your elders, and you learn from, like we're very much tradition based in this line of work. But still, there's a point where the old bull gets his ass kicked and he has to go down the road, and we're not quite like that anymore. But there's still times where you're like, yeah, you got to turn it over and let the young folks lead. And man, Joe Biden could have got out a long time ago.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
But yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in Ukraine, so might as well stay in for the long run, huh?
I guess I mean, I cannot imagine how senile he is going to be by the time he is done in office. I mean, he's only been in there for 15 months and the man can barely talk. He can barely walk. I mean, I don't think he has any clue what's going on at all.
No, yeah, I think it's pretty clear that like 2022 midterms are going to go pretty solidly Republican. But solid Republican's not always a good thing because as we've seen before, the Republicans that can fuck shit up just as bad as the Democrats. And they're almost worse about it because they'll at least tell you what you want to hear going into it and then fuck it up. Like going into it what the Democrats are going to do. Like they don't bullshit you on that. They tell you what they want to do and they try like hell to do it.
Yeah. That's for
sure. Republicans actually claim to put up a fight and then they just allow it to happen usually is what goes on. But I think they're going to it looks like they should pick up a ton of seats. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like I said going into it, Labor Day 2021 would have been like as long as Biden was going to last. I didn't think he was going to make it that long, but apparently they got some really good drugs.
Oh, I know. That's what, again, my dad and we talked about it and we figured freaking Harris would be stepping up within like 6-8 months, but they're keeping him going.
I think that was the original plan, but they all, like the first chance she had to do anything big, she just like, it's like, oh, well, we can't have her in charge.
It's so bad. I mean, she gets under my skin. The way she talks, yeah. I think she is such a great public speaker and she's condescending and she doesn't speak well and she doesn't know anything. And like you said, that laugh.
Oh. Yeah, it's well, she's so bad on everything. Like to get to where she was to run for like high profile office, so US Senate, she had to like claw her way through the ranks of the prosecutor system. And in doing so, she alone was responsible for putting, I don't know exactly the numbers, but we'll call it like a million black dudes in jail for nonviolent drug offenses. Wow. And then as she is running for on the Biden-Harris ticket for president and VP, she is actively telling people to donate to bail funds for BLM riots. And it's insane. Like she when somebody asked her if she had smoked marijuana, she laughed about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, we all did." But yet she prosecuted black men primarily, and put them in jail, held them in jail, even after they had, you know, they had stayed their sentence or had like had their sentence revoked or something. You know, like new evidence came up. Lot of different shit, but she kept a lot of people so they could fight fires for the state of California for free.
Oh my gosh. I guess
Yeah.
the thing that gets me the most with her, with the position she has, she didn't get there on qualifications. She got there because she's Black and she's a female.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so much of that is happening now with politics, which just, it infuriates me. I don't care if you're purple, if you're a guy, a woman, I don't care, but you damn well better be qualified for the position you are taking.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the. So we have a Supreme Court whole deal coming up, and it's very convenient that as you know, as there were, we should be delving into this lady's record. We have a right on the brink of World War III too. So like, I'm not saying that's part of the conspiracy. I'm just saying it sure adds to the. It's very convenient that they can throw that in front of our face, and you
Yes.
forget that. Oh yeah, we should know who's. And I honestly I don't I don't know anything about her. I haven't heard a huge backlash from the right wing pundits, so I'm assuming she must be okay.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast and they talked about her. I think she is qualified, and I don't think she's like crazy left wing. I guess
Mm,
again, it's just another situation though. The only reason she was picked is because she's Black and female.
yeah.
And my gosh, if that is how a country is run, yeah, we're destined to go up in flames.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, but it's been that way for. I mean, even Trump played into that with Amy Coney Barrett. He picked her because she was a woman. Like
Yeah.
that was because he had to have the woman on the card, and it's just dumb that you have to have that. I mean, it
Yeah.
just it's dumb, and
Oh,
I don't know.
over certain, and even being a woman, like I will be the first to admit if I am not qualified, if there is a man that is more qualified, step up to the plate before me. I don't just I do not just want to be picked because I'm a woman. Like I want to be picked on my qualifications. And the fact that we are becoming a country, like we have to have a certain number of, Blacks or females or transgenders on like boards or on in political positions is outrageous to me.
Yeah, I think we're coming like to a hard stop on that. I think it's slowing a little bit, but I think people are really getting tired of that nonsense, and especially because you're starting to see a bunch of left wing people getting eaten up by it, like getting eaten up by their own kind. Because how it all. That's how. I mean, it was the same thing with the right wingers back in the day, with the super churchy types. You could not be churchy enough for the Bible Belt, for a while, like, and that's they've just the like the super left wingers have just become the Puritans of the day.
Right.
That's all it is. So like at some point you can never hold up to their ideals. Like you can never hold that straight of a path, and you're starting to see a bunch of left wingers get burned by it, and they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't expect that to happen." Even though people are like, "You don't want to go down that path."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's coming around, but God, it just like how many people have to lose their jobs and shit before that happens
Too many.
over stupid bullshit, dude. Just stupid bullshit, like the the shit that Joe Rogan's going over. Like at the very most, he is guilty of having a conversation. Like that is all
Oh,
that he
for
is guilty
sure.
of. Just a
Yeah.
conversation, and they're wanting to come after money, and not even a conversation where he was calling for violence. It was just letting somebody speak their mind,
Oh, for sure.
and they're trying to get him just wiped off the internet.
Yeah, they basically just want to cancel him because, like you said, just because he had a conversation that
Mm-hmm.
didn't align with the leftists.
Yeah, it's it's insane. And so then Tuesday, when I think it was on the Patreon part of the show, when I was talking with Feedlot Bob, and he brought up this deal that he read somewhere that only 10% of people have an inner monologue. And that was very unsettling to me. that only 10% of people like go over stuff in their head.
I can see that.
I can see it, but it is disturbing. Just
Yeah,
like
it is.
wow. Because
Yeah,
I know a lot of stupid people that still have conversations with themselves in their head, like still talk shit out in their head. But so there's people out there that just don't, like, they just whatever they're told, they just like, okay.
but look at how people reacted to like the pandemic and all the restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think. They just, yes, you want me to do that? I will do it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's
It's
society.
it's insane. So you went to this. I guess just we'll take. I don't know. Before we just go down further down the rabbit hole of just life sucking. But I really wanted to see what your thoughts were on this. It was like a Unity conference or something with RCAF, NCBA, and U.S. Cattlemen's.
Yeah, so that was up at the Black Hill Stock Show the first week of February, I think. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it was like cattle industry unity meeting. It was a like 3 hour meeting. There was a couple speakers to start with, and then they had a panel of RCAF, US Cattlemen's, and NCBA. So Karina Jones of Broken Bow, Nebraska, she represented RCAF. Justin Tupper of St. Ange, South Dakota, he represented US Cattlemen's. And then I have to apologize, the NCBA guy, I cannot remember his name. He was some guy from South Dakota. I think he was a farmer. Not that that matters. Um, he wasn't very outspoken. It kind of surprised me for an NCBA representative. He was soft in a way, I guess you could say, but nonetheless, basically, in my opinion, a lot of the conversation that was had is just conversation we have had over the past however many years about topics such as mandatory country of origin labeling, Brazilian beef imports, packers, and everyone shared their opinion. And in my opinion, I think it just exemplified how our industry is incredibly divided and we are not unified in any way. And in my opinion, again, I don't think we will ever be unified because no one in the industry wants to compromise. If you don't agree with me, if you're not all in with me, I'm going to get personal and I'm going to cut you to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That is the mentality of so many in this industry. And I'll be the first to say that I have spoken up a lot of times when I haven't agreed with, let's say, NCBA, because I burned that bridge a long time ago. But I have never went after someone personally. When we start going after people personally because there's one thing they don't agree with you on, that says a lot about who you are and the organization you represent. And when the whole unity thing, I think it's a complete sham. Like I said, we're never going to get on the same page. We're always going to disagree. And we're never going to compromise because people, they just don't know how to compromise. But believe it or not, compromise is part of life and everything. I bet you can tell me all about it being in a marriage.
Yeah. It's that's and I know just speaking from my experience through all this, because I really thought back, was it like 2019 or something like that, when they did the Fair Cattle Markets Twitter campaign, and I really thought maybe this was going to be something kind of cool, and it turned into just a shit slinging contest.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been at the Southeast Colorado Livestock Association meetings when they're voting on whether or not to support RKF or exclusively support NCBA, and those fights just get downright dirty, and and these are people that grew up next to each other, that know each other. Their kids know each other. Like we're in the audience. You know, this was when I was in high school. You know, like we're in the audience looking at each other, like I'm not real sure why they're so mad. And you're just like, but you know, and we're voting like our parents tell us. So we're like, we're RKF people. But like if we're fighting them, like the people that are fighting us don't even have to try very hard, because like we can't even get on the same page.
That is exactly it. I had a good conversation with my good friend Annie Dorr about that. I wrote an article here in the past month about the New York Times. They came out with a 14-minute long YouTube video basically attacking agriculture. And I wrote an article about it, and basically how it was all a sham and how there are these outside groups attacking agriculture. And we are basically leaving the door wide open for them because we are too busy fighting with each other. And at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to happen. I think all this talk about legislation in the cattle industry or with the packers, none of that is going to matter because we are so tied up with telling you why my idea is better and how I'm not going to give any. And we're going to let these, let's say, PETA or anti-meat groups in, and they're just slowly going to take over agriculture and the meat industry.
Well, in the meantime, we don't fight hard enough against like the estate tax and shit like that, so that somebody they can either like not be able to pass their anything down to their kids, or they can sell to a shell company owned by Bill Gates, and next thing you know, Bill Gates is just raising a bunch of grasshoppers for us to eat because that's the green thing to do.
Yeah, and we're all about the green thing.
Yeah, so it's but in the meantime, you know, you got your camper and you can ride off into the sunset, and because you know it was easier that way, than you can just write a check to your kids instead of letting them figure out what to do with the ranch, and it pisses me off on an American scale, on the rancher scale, on all of it. We've done it to ourselves more often than not, and yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb.
It is dumb, and to me, it's incredibly disheartening how we cut each other down. There was an article I read this week. It wasn't even about like the cowboy code, but the gentleman talked about the cowboy code and how, you know, we respect each other in the Western way of life and in agriculture, but look at how we're treating each other half the time. Look at, if you don't agree with me, I mean, there's so many people that just get downright mean. And the sad thing is social media has made it so much worse because they say whatever they want to you on social media, but I guarantee you, if I see them in person, they will never say a damn word. And it gets me. It gets me. And at the end of the day, it makes me question, you know, doing my updates every day. It makes me question writing articles. It's literally like banging your head against the wall. And especially for people that, you know, they're in your corner when you're doing something right. But if you say anything out of line that doesn't agree with them, we're done with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. There's, and I keep thinking like maybe it used to not be this bad, but I don't know if it ever. I think it's worse nowadays because everything's so instant. But I don't know exactly how to get about it, except like that old golden rule is there for a reason. Like nobody really likes the golden rule because it's fucking hard to do.
Yeah,
but it's there for a reason, and so I just try to like even if I don't agree with somebody, I at least like try to think about it from their point of view, and like even if they're wrong, I can like if I can at least see where they're coming from, well then maybe you can figure out how to get somewhere besides just, you know, being at odds with each other. Like that's the deal. Like you can say that, hey, we kind of picked this fight with Putin over Ukraine, without being on Putin's side. Like, I'm not a pro-Putin guy, but I can say, like, if you could just look at the boundaries from 1994 to now and where NATO used to be and to where it is now, like, we're kind of pushing him into a corner, and at some point he's got nowhere else to go except to fight, and we could have just not done that. You know, like, we didn't have to let all those countries into NATO. We didn't have to try to control Ukraine. We could have let him figure that out, because guess what? That looks like a fucking shit show. They've got a comedian actor as a president and a whole brigade of Nazis as part of their National Guard. Like, that is going to be a shit show that we probably don't want to be involved in. Let Putin deal with that. He's an asshole.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, I agree. Like, us stepping in, I mean, is it right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could probably debate that back and forth. I don't know. And I don't think I'm probably smart enough to even answer that. I guess my heart just breaks for the Ukrainian people. Like, they did not deserve any of this. And also for the Russian people. Like, there was a law passed this week in Russia that if you refer to the invasion of Ukraine as war, you could face up to 5 years in prison. I mean,
I guess we wouldn't know that because our media companies are censoring shit coming out of Russia. Like, that is why free speech is so important. Even if it is propaganda coming out of Russia, the fact that we can see it gives us a little bit better idea of what's actually going on.
Yeah.
But otherwise, all we're hearing is propaganda from our media outlets. Like, like, the free exchange of information is the most important thing we have. And when we have, like, they make a huge deal about Facebook being banned in Russia. But what they don't tell you is that Facebook banned Russia Today and Sputnik News, the state media outlets of Russia. So the government of Russia is like, no, fuck you. You are not going to sway our internal politics by not allowing our media. So, no, you're just not allowed here.
Yeah.
Well, so then it just ratchets up from there. Like that. Let people decide their own. You know, when somebody is trying to shut down the flow of information, do not trust them.
I know. I know. And I think that free speech here in America, I think some of us have taken it for granted. I mean, and yeah, when you can't even say certain things, and sometimes I worry it'll get to that point here in America. But yeah, free speech.
Yeah. And yeah, so like this whole thing is, I don't know, but it makes me nervous because I'm 36, so I think I'm probably still considered a fighting age male. And if push comes to shove and we're at war with Russia, you can guarantee your ass that they are bringing back the draft, because that's going to be an all hands on deck deal. And so I'm still within that range.
Yeah. I don't know if they will bring back the draft though, because can you imagine? I don't know. I can't see it modern day, but maybe I'm not.
Well, I can't imagine that we're actually be at war with Russia, but I know that if we are actually at full scale war with Russia, yeah, they're not gonna not make people fight. It don't matter. It's all hands on deck. So.
But don't you kind of think that war would be over pretty quick?
Yeah, I think it'd be over real quick. I think there'd be a lot of ramping up to that point, but I don't think it's going to be it'd be an overnight just nuclear holocaust. But I think, that's what we're doing with this Ukraine deal, is just poking, seeing how far we can go, and I think. Yeah, it's a dangerous. It's gamesmanship. It's the new Cold War. Do you watch South Park at all?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Oh man, You wouldn't get this. Their latest episode is just about how all the boomers are feeling nostalgic for the '80s, and they're just like back to the Cold War. Feels exactly like what it is.
Sorry, I was too busy watching Jeopardy instead.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just it just feels a lot like the '80s. We're just like we're just fucking with each other, and yeah.
So what do you think our next move is as America? Because I mean, cutting off oil and petroleum products was kind of our last straw. What do you think happens next?
Well, I don't know. That's what would really be bad is if China starts buying oil from Russia in the yuan or anything other than the U.S. dollar. And if that happens, hyperinflation will be like overnight. That's the only thing that's given the U.S. dollar any sort of backing is the fact that the oil is traded in the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gold standard. So if Russia and China start trading oil in anything other than the dollar, that's gonna be bad news.
Do you think China's going to go after Taiwan?
I don't know. I think we are legally obligated to defend Taiwan. So if that's the case, I don't think so. But because for what it's worth, Biden has made a pretty clear red line that like you fuck with the NATO allies, we're not going to mess with you, or until you fuck with the NATO allies. So how much he holds that red line, I don't know, but let's hope that Putin doesn't push that red line either. That's just bad news for everybody. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what we do if they do take Taiwan. That's the thing is, are we gonna go after China too? Are we gonna declare war on China? Like at that point, what can we do if it all happens? Like what can we do?
I don't know. I mean, we cut off ties with China. How many products do we have? I mean, everything is made in China.
Yeah. Like shit would get real dire over here overnight.
Real dire. And maybe that's a selfish thing to say. I don't know. But god dang, I don't know. That is a scary thought. Like one thing leading to another right now. Just I don't know where it ends.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird because like we're talking real tough with Russia, but up until 2 days ago, we were still buying oil from them.
I know.
and so like, what does war actually mean? But at the same time, we're shipping guns over to the Ukrainians to shoot at the Russians with. And like, how is that not considered an act of war too? Because if somebody was doing that to us, you bet your ass we'd be pissed off. And so like I don't know, it's like how far do we push this shit? And it's one thing when you're doing it to the Iraqis who really can't do much to anybody outside the country of Iraq, but when you're doing it to Russia that has intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads, like that's a whole different story.
Yeah, the whole concept of this war is just kind of bizarre to me, you know.
Yeah.
All the complexities of it.
Mm-hmm. And just like, and that is not even to begin to try to sort out how like the Bidens and the Romneys and like John Kerry and that whole mess is in Ukraine, because remember they impeached Donald Trump over Ukraine the first time, and so like there's some shit going down in Ukraine. There's something about biological labs there that initially said that was a total conspiracy theory, and then it comes out like, oh, they are there, but they're not ours. Oh, but They kind of are ours, but it's only for defense. And you're just like, so what is actually going on with Ukraine? I don't think it's just because of the Russians think it's their territory from the get go. I think there's a lot more to it that we don't know, and I and guess what? It's gonna be people like us that have to do the fighting over it.
That's exactly it. There's so much behind the curtain that we don't know about, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It is so frustrating, and I never thought we would be talking about this.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. But hey, wheat prices are going to be really good this year.
If you want to go buy some bread, you better go do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope everybody in the wheat belt gets some rain this year cuz yeah, wheat prices are going to be high.
Yeah.
That this is a little little lesson in economics. If we had not shut down the pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, if we had not turned off all the public lands drilling, offshore drilling, and had continued to be a net exporter and 100% energy independent, and all other things being equal, just saying that like we were the number one export, producer of oil in the world like we were just a few years ago. Say we kept that up. All other things being equal leading up to the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. All we had to do was be like start pumping natural gas to Europe, bitch. And the European countries could have said, "Hey, we're not buying any natural gas from Russia," and that the Russian troops would have withdrawn within probably a week.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't even been considered an active war from the West. It would have just been a matter of trade. But now we're at a point where we have to go begging Iran and Venezuela to start who we've been at odds with forever.
Yes.
And now we got to go begging. And when you could have just and it wouldn't have been a hard sell either, because you would have been like, hey, American people, if we start making more or pumping more oil, it's going to drive the cost down here because we're exporting a shitload of it now. And everybody's like, well, fuck yeah. We'll go from $1.50 gas to $1.25 gas. All right, I'm in.
For certain. So do you think the Biden administration at any point is going to abandon their green energy outlook and maybe get rid of some of these regulations they have when it comes to drilling? Let us start drilling offshore. Do you think they are ever going to do that? How bad is it going to have to get before they do that?
I don't know. That's one thing. But they were very they had their heels dug in really hard on all these like hardcore COVID stuff. But let's give it a hand to Vladimir Putin because he cured COVID, and it's amazing how quickly like nobody gives a shit about that anymore. So if they really need to switch it up and go back to just not worrying about climate change, I think they can do it. I mean, we've seen the media just like and politicians all just lockstep like change the narrative. So if they need to ramp something else up, like, hey, let's start a war over here this time, and then we don't have to worry about climate change anymore. We're gonna have to put the climate on the back burner because we gotta go fight Argentina or whatever, whatever the fuck.
Yeah. I just hope we abandon this green energy idea, because I think it's going to ruin America.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you. You're a pretty big Donald Trump guy or gal. You kind of fan of the policies and stuff, right?
Yeah, he's okay.
Okay. What what do you think happens if he gets elected again? Like, do you think that's a good thing for the country or no?
I am split on this. First thing I was gonna say no. Um, oh boy, yes and no. I can't give
Yeah.
you, I cannot give you a straight answer because what he did for our country economically, it was freaking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while he was in office, it wasn't great for agriculture. I will say that 9 times out of 10, when we've had a Democrat in office, that's when agriculture has thrived. Obviously, it's not going to happen now because of all the shit going on. But if Trump gets back into office, we will see riots like we have never seen before. I think people are going to become unhinged. Um, I don't know. I mean, I know gas prices will go down, but that might not matter in the grand scheme of things because there's going to be bigger problems. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm kind of in the same spot because I didn't vote for Trump in 16. I voted for Daryl Castle, who was the Constitution Party candidate, and I thought Trump was just kind of a jackass. I thought he was a little unhinged.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I've been through a lot of cycles with him, but I always loved the comedy of Trump. Like Trump is one of he was the best Twitter follow ever. And that was well before he was president. He was the best Twitter follow, and he's just really funny. There's something I really like about that. But I did not vote for him in 16. He won me over on certain things. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like about him, and then I really didn't like him come 2020. Like the whole year of 2020, he started off by taking out Soleimani. Not that I thought that Soleimani didn't need to be taken out. I just thought we don't need to start a fucking war with Iran because we're already so far in debt like that, and Iran's a huge country compared to Iraq, and also has strong ties with China and Russia, the World War thing. But don't worry about that. We're fighting right with Russia now, so we don't have to worry about Iran. We're trying to get Iran back now. So
Yeah.
so there you go. Point Donald Trump. But he did some stuff like economically I really liked, and but just like the whole time in 2020, I just like he just kept talking shit, and you're just like, this is your time right now. Like this thing is kind of like, if you don't think it's a big deal, come out and say it's not that big of a deal, and let's move forward as if it's no big deal. But if it is a big deal, like it turns out it kind of was, just lay it out there straight. But he just kind of was like, meh, meh. And then as soon as the election comes out, he starts throwing out all these bullshit lawsuits over the election. And I was like, you couldn't throw one lawsuit against the state of California for the mandates. You couldn't throw one lawsuit out there against the mandates, but you can throw 36 lawsuits from these crazy unhinged lawyers over supposed election fraud. That's when Trump kind of lost me. But now we got this corpse in office.
Yeah.
So if we're grading on a curve, I mean, he's better than Biden. Yeah.
Like I would take Biden over. I mean, excuse me. I would take Trump over Biden any day. Trump defeated himself in this last election. That's one thing, which I bet I'm going to get a lot of haters for this. The man needs a filter. You know, I don't care who you are. If you are in a political position as like that, you better have a filter and get off of Twitter. I mean,
yeah, Twitter's not a real place.
What are you doing? Do you need to be doing something better than sitting on Twitter?
Yeah.
I mean, economically, yeah, he's great for our country. I don't. Is he gonna run this next election? Do you know?
It sure seems like it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I finally got on Truth Social. It only took I think 9 days for them for me to clear the wait list, and Donald Trump is only well, it's not tweeted. Is it a truth? He truthed one time, and it was just saying like coming soon, basically. So
Oh my.
I mean, it's great marketing. I don't know how many millions of people have signed up for Truth Social yet, but it's just the one Truth got a bunch of people to sign up. So I guess he probably made a little money, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I did
That
see. I
oh, go
saw
ahead. Go
that
ahead.
him and Pence have split ways.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, so my dad and I were talking about this today, and I don't know how it all went down, but that just crossed my mind. Is Pence gonna run in the next election?
Pence would get smoked.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
So,
and Biden would beat Mike Pence. Don't underestimate the power of propaganda. They would turn Mike Pence into a bigger evil than Donald Trump. Um, yeah, they'll use the pray the gay away thing like you will not believe.
I forgot about that.
Doesn't even matter if there's a no truth to it at all. That story's already out there, and they will run with it like a son of a bitch. Um, I don't think Mike Pence holds that much sway.
Here's my biggest worry, though, that Trump will run as an independent, and because he's been mad at the Republican Party. So he's going to run as an independent, and we're going to get a Republican in there also, and they'll split the votes, and we'll get another Democrat in for the next 4 years. Is that a crazy thought?
No, I don't think it is. And I think you'll probably see a pretty good showing from the Libertarian candidate as well. I don't know, whoever that ends up being. There's a guy that he's a podcast host and comedian guy that's making, but that I think is probably going to make a run and would probably do pretty well, like well enough to like make some headlines, but not enough to win anything.
Yeah.
But if Trump goes third party, like that's probably say 40 million of the 81 million voters that or 78 million voters that voted for him. Say roughly half of that's immediately going to vote Trump as an independent.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many hardcore Republicans, like old school, like follow party line Republican stuff, would vote for Trump. I don't, as an independent, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then who do surely, like I don't think they can keep Biden alive for that long.
I I would hope not, but didn't he say he wanted to run again?
He said that, but
Yeah, it's just words.
yeah. And nobody likes Kamala Harris, so
Yeah, so
I don't know who they got. Like I see that Hillary Clinton's making the media headlines here. Like she's making the rounds again, and
oh my
ooh,
God.
oh, she's awful.
There are good Democrats out there. I mean, they could pick someone that is decent. I mean, if they would just pick someone that is not so freaking out there on the edge, radical, it'd probably be okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where they go. I think it seems like both parties are really fractured right now because you still have like the old school Republicans trying to hang on. You got the Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton, Adam Kinzinger, Warhawk Republicans, and then you have kind of the Trump wing of Republicans, and then you've got like the AOC wing versus like the old school Pelosi, Chuck Schumer types, and
Yeah.
say what you will about Pelosi, that bitch is a gangster, because you remember what a firebrand AOC was coming in, like talking shit on Pelosi, and she don't do shit about that anymore.
I know. Yeah, I will say that about Pelosi. I do not like her, but you're right. She
Oh,
is
she's a gangster.
yeah.
She's a gangster. No, she's awful, but yeah. Oh, but for what it's worth, Marjorie Taylor Greene found out how how shit works too, because now she's just been relegated to waiting so she can call for a vote on everything.
Yeah.
That's basically all she does anymore.
Yeah.
They stripped her of all committee assignments and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I think the only play that any reasonable people have left is to just start focusing on local and state politics and
Yep.
just physically taking power back from the Fed, because that's really all you can do, because if you're waiting for a big sort of structural change from the federal level, it ain't happening.
No. Yeah. And you're spot on. I think you have to take back power on the local and state
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, I look at stuff like some of the stuff that DeSantis has been doing. Like, I don't know if DeSantis would make a great president, but he's done a hell of a job in Florida.
Yes.
There's some stuff that maybe he could do better, but overall, like, he's done a really good job. Kristi Noem, for the stuff that she can improve on, yeah, there's plenty of it, but she's done a pretty damn good job when a big problem reared its head. Like Greg Abbott didn't start out that great when the pandemic happened, but like he corrected course pretty quickly. So bygones be bygones. When shit came down to it, Kristi Noem did a hell of a good job. Ron DeSantis did a hell of a good job. So whether that translates to the federal level, I don't know. But you got to find people like that to do it locally.
Yeah, for certain. I mean, those folks you rattled off, I mean, they kept their states going economically and they did good.
Yeah.
We could take a few lessons from them.
Yeah, and there's I think that's where you have to look, because I don't know. I just I visited with a guy that's running for the House in North Carolina. He's a former Special Forces guy, and I liked him, and I liked the things he had to say. But then when you think about like what they're up against, and like you're one out of 535 people, and yeah, I just like you look. That's a huge hill to climb, trying to get anything done. And there's a reason they call DC the swamp. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, you can institute change a lot quicker and a lot more decisively at a smaller level. So start at your county, work up to the state or something like that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. You got to start small, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. That's why I like people like Trey Wasserberger. Like I like that guy, because instead of bitching about how RCAF can't get their shit together, or how NCBA can't get their shit together, or how whatever, he saw a problem, and then they're trying to address the problem. They're building to a solution, and that's it's even if they fail, at least they fucking tried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he took it into his own hands. I mean, and that's what I think, unpopular opinion. I think a lot of us in the cattle industry, we need to take a better approach at that, because no one's coming to save us. No cattle organization, the government sure as shit isn't going to. We're kind of on our own.
Yeah. Well, and we've forever, it's been like once those cabs are on the truck, that's it. That's your payday. And well, if you treat it like that, then what you end up with is this where we're at now is where, yeah. So okay, you didn't get a good price for your cattle this year, but you keep trying the same shit over and over, and this has led to where we're at. And so it's going to take a few guys to go out on a limb and hold on to those calves and see how this process works all the way through to the retail case. And because otherwise, what's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Oh, for certain. Yeah, I agree. I mean, as cattle producers, I think we got to maybe look at some other ways to market. And,
Yep.
maybe you got to go out on a limb and risk a little bit more. And I think also we got to do a better job of listening to what the consumer wants. So
Right.
much of the time, it's like you said, we've done it this way for so long. It's fine. We'll just keep doing it this way. No, the consumer, I mean, they've evolved. Things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to get out of what we were doing in 1975,
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, they still eat our product, but they don't like us anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
we've also removed ourselves from that whole deal too. It's just
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, they want a connection with their food, and what we have to figure out how to do that for them, how to supply
Mhm.
them with that connection. And I mean, there's ways, I'm sure there's ways to do it. We have to think outside the box.
yeah, and we have to realize that you have to talk to them too. You have to talk to those idiots from the city.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And yeah, we have to be willing to communicate. And I saw something the other day on Twitter, and I do not agree with the beef checkoff. I know there's a lot of things that can be changed about it, but the checkoff was talking about beef advocates and what they've done to promote beef. And again, I do not agree with how our money is spent through the beef checkoff. I want to say that. But I do have to say that they do put our product out there in front of the general public. And if they weren't doing it, do you have time to do it? Do I have time to do it?
No.
No. And gosh dang it, I think it goes back, and I'm going on a rant here. I'll be done in a second. I
Go for it.
I swear in the cattle industry, we always have to find something to bitch about, like it's what can we find next to complain about, and like you mentioned, Trey, like besides complaining, you know what he did? He just got busy working on something to help his next generation, to help his kids have a future. And rather than bitching and tearing each other down, I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's a way to go about it, and like don't let the perfect get in the way of the good.
Yes.
Like if it's not a good idea, okay, that's fine. Don't go forward with a bad idea. All right, but if you have a good idea that might not be perfect, well, address the areas that might not be perfect, but let's still push forward with good. Like good's better than nothing. And there's times where I will say nothing is better than a bad deal. Like there's times when no deal is better than a bad deal.
Yeah.
But if it's good and it's working towards where we want to go, okay, that's fine. As long as we're working towards it.
Yes.
And gaining ground.
You will never get perfect. I don't think. I swear you don't get perfect with anything in life. And
Yep.
especially with the cattle industry and business, if it's good, and like you said, we're moving forward, a starting point, moving forward, let's roll with it.
Yeah, and that's where that's where RCAF gets so much pushback, is because they don't. It's just like all or nothing. If we don't have this much or better, we're not even listening to anything else. Okay, but I'm with you. Like I agree. Like we should be at that point. Say that's we're all in agreement. Okay, but we're 5 miles that way. Okay, how do we get there? Like, and we're not in a car. We're not driving 5 miles in a car. No, we're pulling a plow. Like how do we get there? How do we get from here to there in the meantime? Because it's going to take a long damn time to get there. So let's move towards that.
Oh, and people hate me for this. I mean, I think all of our calf will hate me for saying this, but we have to get something attainable. You cannot continue to bang your head against the wall and just have a long line of failures. At some point, you have to accomplish something.
Yeah, I think so. Those all or nothing arguments work really good in lawsuits, but they don't, like, as far as legislation. Oh, yeah, and yeah, and especially dealing at the federal level. Good God,
Yeah.
just you'd think it's something would be really easy to get just pushed into one of these omnibus bills. You know, there's like 7,000 pages. Let's just
Put it in there.
yep, just nobody's looking. I don't see what. But they don't read it, so what's the difference? And then it's like, I was planning this the whole time.
Yeah, no shit. No one is reading all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But
That maybe I'll run for office on that platform. Just slip it in there.
6,730.
Yeah, just add to the omnibus.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. That's my platform.
Yeah, you'd probably win.
Probably. Well, what else is catching your eye over in the Sandhills? Anything?
Oh man. I mean, the biggest things in my world right now, I'm really hot to trot on this Ukraine-Russian deal. I'm really paying attention to this energy crisis, I guess you could call it. And here on the ranch, we haven't started calving yet, so things are still pretty calm. We don't start till April. So just feeding cattle and worrying about the world. It is not an exciting life.
No. Well, you were looking like a Spartan the other day with your running picture. Like you had like you were looking all yoked and shit.
I've never been called a Spartan. Wow, right now.
Well, I was trying to think of what the ginger version of a Spartan was, but I was drawing a blank. So
yeah, I don't know. You're gonna have to think about that one.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I do in my spare time to run off the crazy and the stress.
Oh, I hate running so much.
Oh, I love running and lifting weights, and it's really my jam. Actually, if I had it my way, I would just work out all the time. Forget about working. I would just work out. It's a high for me.
That sounds awful. More power to you.
Awesome.
No, that sounds terrible to me.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I think I want to sign up for another ultra race here for the summer. So that's anything over a marathon distance. I'd like to run like maybe a 50K, which is 30-ish miles. So I'm currently cruising around for a race to sign up for.
Wow. What's the longest one you've done?
I've done 52, the Bighorn 52 up by Dayton, Wyoming.
Oh wow.
I always wanted to run a 100-miler, and I've never gotten around to it. Life gets so busy, but I think you just got to make time for priorities, and I'd like to make a 100-mile race a priority.
Oh,
are you inspired?
More power to you. That's awesome.
Thanks.
For you. I'm not even gonna I'll be like, hey, good for you, and then never think of ever trying that.
You don't want to go for a jog.
No, I run every now and then, but it's that's not my jam. I've listened to a lot of podcasts and I listen to a lot of Rogan and guys along those same lines, and I've listened to those guys, and that's just I get into those like very obsessive type of deals, like but not with running. Like running has never been one of those ones where like I get really just dedicated to. Like podcasting, I've been my wife will. You ask my wife and she'll be like, yeah, that fucking podcast again. You're like, I don't know how many times I fell asleep out here in the studio. And so like I get real into stuff, but running is not one that I ever have.
We all have our thing. We all, we all have our vice, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good vice to have. I mean, it's good for you and makes you look good. So like,
Thanks.
yeah, yeah, like, well, you're never gonna look worse by running every day. I don't think like that. Like you can only look better by running every day.
I might
I
my knees.
I gotta tone my shit down every now and then. So like I stop running. You know, I don't need people like. I don't need to be too good looking.
That's exactly it. Like at some point you have to draw a line in the sand and you can't go past that certain attractiveness level. And
Right.
I see where that would come into play with you. Don't pass it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, because then it just, it's not fair for people. It's not
Exactly.
fair.
It gets out of hand.
Yeah. No, it's that's cool. 100 miles. That how long you think that would take you?
It usually takes, depending on the race, depending on elevation gain, all that stuff, anywhere from 24 to 30 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I
what's your pace like on your average everyday run? What's your like mile?
Super slow. So anywhere from like a 9:30 to an 11-minute mile. Super slow.
Okay.
And I like on interval days or when I'm doing sprints, that'll be closer to like 8-minute miles. But longer runs, it can, like if I'll go out and do like a 20-mile run, it would be like a 12-minute mile,
Okay.
Yeah, it's slow. There's no doubt about it. So, and that's kind of why I like it. I don't know. It's your time to yourself and you just get I don't know, think about life.
Yeah. What's your fastest mile that you've ever ran?
Oh, shoot. Probably back in high school sometime. I cannot recall, but in all fairness, I have never been very fast.
Yeah.
It was never my thing. I'm guessing you have.
No, the fastest I ever ran, and I thought I was doing really good, and I didn't even medal. Was I ran a 5:42. I came in. No, I came in 5th.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like I knew it was probably under 6 minutes when I ran it, but I didn't know like what the actual time was going to be, but I knew that I wasn't going to be getting a medal. And then I got my time. I was like, son of a bitch, that's the fastest I've ever ran. And yeah, I didn't even medal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
See, I think mine would probably be in the 7-minute range, probably somewhere in there. Dang, that is some stiff competition.
Yeah, it was that was my junior year of high school, I think. And I didn't run my senior year. When I was in junior high, I was pretty good at like the intermediate distance. And then everybody grew. I didn't run track again until I was a junior. And everybody, like all the guys that I ran against like my 8th grade year, and then I was like I'd either beat or we'd have a real close race. They all got like super tall and lanky, and I stayed right at like 5'8", and yeah, I didn't grow any taller. And I didn't have that. I wasn't built for long distance in a fast. Like I could set a pace and keep it, but I couldn't. Like I didn't have the sprint part.
Yeah, I've always hated sprints or, I used to run like 5Ks and 10Ks, and those are clipping right along if you want to be competitive. And I mean, they were fun, but it's just, I don't know. I like a race where you're out almost all day,
Yeah.
by yourself in the mountains. It's pretty great.
More power to you. I'll take your word for it.
I'll keep you updated.
Perfect. You rope? Do you rope competitively or just kind of?
Yeah. I go to some jackpots. I've never, I roped through college, and then after college, you get busy with life and go to a few jackpots. But I do not plan to do that anytime soon with fuel being so high.
Oh, no shit.
That is one thing I can cut out of my life pretty fast. holy hell, just even going to town for groceries. I mean, it's an hour drive and you better pick up everything.
Yeah, that's no kidding. That's insane. What end did you rope? Are you head or heel or?
No, actually, I just roped calves, just breakaway. I have
Oh,
never,
really?
never team roped in my whole life. Never done it.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't ever my thing. I think so the gentleman that basically taught me how to tie goats and rope, Lynn Bridgman, he always said you wanted to keep all your fingers, so we're not going to get you team roping. So I never team roped and I never took it up. And yeah, so
There you go.
yeah, here we are.
All right. Well, yeah, and then like you said, it's with fuel prices. That's a pretty easy one to just like not gonna make that one.
In my opinion, I feel I can rope the rest of my life, and let's just pray to God that fuel prices come down someday and we can get back to it. But honestly, it's just a normal person. I don't think you can justify it.
Now, rodeo is an expensive sport.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, rodeo's not a cheap sport to get into, and
Mhm.
even when you're good, like even the
Oh,
guys that are making money, boy, they got to spend money to get there. So
oh, for certain. Yeah, you better have some damn good sponsors to make a little bit of money because yeah, the inputs are it's unreal. It's kind of like agriculture, very high inputs.
yeah, I wonder if there's like eventually a market always corrects itself, like and there's that's uh and when you look at like that, like agricultural in general, like how propped up some of these commodities are, like eventually like that shit in some way, shape, or form will change, and I wonder like it's gonna be just a normal thing to spend more of your percentage of your income towards food. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whenever we've seen prices go up on things, they rarely come down.
right.
I've never lived through hyperinflation, so maybe it will. But I think, yeah, we could. I mean, we could turn into Europe. Like Europeans, they spend over 50% of their income on food. It's so high over there. And I could see that happening to us here.
Yeah. Um, what do you know about cryptocurrencies?
Nothing.
I am not far from there. Like I know just slightly more than that, but like not enough to explain it to anybody. And I was kind of hoping you knew more,
I
but
did. Sorry, I've never do. I don't. So yeah, no, I don't. I honest to God don't know anything. In my mind, like, are they real? How does all that work? Is
see,
just
that's the
business
same.
money?
I kind of understand somewhat of how they could be valuable, but I still don't like. There's nothing backing it. Like yeah, like you're right. It's if some say like if we listen to like the super like not even QAnon, but like beyond QAnon people that think that one day Russia's gonna just not nuke us, but like EMP, and somehow like if Russia hits us with an EMP, it's not gonna affect the Russian grid. It's just gonna be our grid, and it just poof, the grid's down. So if that's the case, there's no internet, which means there's no Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. And that's the thought in my mind. I don't think that ever happens. I think the flow of information that the internet has become far too integral to the world that like I think I don't think there's any way that the world allows that to happen, like especially like the people that run the world. I don't think there's any way they allow the internet to like go down.
I, yeah, I hope you're right, but it's just like I don't know. It doesn't seem real to me, I guess. But again,
Right.
I don't I don't understand it, and I've never taken the time. I mean, I know people that have invested in Bitcoin and all that stuff, but I've never asked questions and I've never read a thing about it.
Yeah, I've like dabbled in it like in the hundreds of dollars here and there. You know, like I'll put in
Yeah.
$100 just, and like there for a while I was just buying like $25 a week. So it was like $100 a month, and that way, especially when it was like doing like the wild fluctuations, and I made a little bit of money on it, like not enough to, like not even enough to like make a dent in my taxes, but like, you know, just like small time stuff. We're like, yeah, that'll I can take my wife out to a nice dinner tonight or this weekend, that type of money on it. But I still don't know enough about it to like legitimately invest in it. Like I know there's IRAs and stuff that are all crypto based, and I've looked into it, but I still don't know enough to where like I'm not going that far into it.
The fact that you can't hold it, I guess, bothers me.
Mm-hmm. At the end all be all cash gold something.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe I'm just behind the times. I mean,
I don't know if you are, but
I am getting old. I don't know. I'm old school. Like at this point, I feel like I should invest all my money in gold the way things are going.
Right. Beef, just trade beef and you're probably in good shape.
That's for certain. There's going to be food shortages eventually. So
right. Yeah, I was gonna say the only reason I was asking on the crypto deal is because Biden had that executive order on that, and I haven't looked into it. Biden's a lot of bluster on these executive orders, but when you get down into it, it's like the Democratic Party has been here lately. It's a lot of bluster, but it's mostly symbolic. Like they'll, it just. So I don't know, and I also don't know enough on cryptocurrency to see how it affects how this deal will affect it. So I don't know, but
yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a weird world. Weird world we're living in.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's a good one. Well,
yeah.
I guess you got anything else that you wanna talk about or promote or anything?
No, I think we covered it all. Thank you for having me on. This has been great.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Your latest article is out on burning-daylight.com on the Uncommon Sense blog, and then of course Cattle News Central here every Monday. Are you going to just Monday through Thursday?
Yes,
for a while.
Yep, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, Friday's a slow news day, so it's a good call. Good call.
And I'm planning on writing a few more blogs here in the coming weeks with everything going on. So get excited for that.
Heck yeah. Well, make sure you guys go read that. Listen every Monday through Thursday. And thanks for allowing me to broadcast your show on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a good fit. I've had a lot of good feedback from it because of it. So yeah, let's keep that thing going. And yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Mackenzie Johnston, good to see you again. Go follow her on Facebook, Instagram, all that good shit. And move your ass. We're burning daylight. And
your eyes up in the morning beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.